Welcome back, everybody, to the Fighting for Freedom podcast. I just want to say thank you to everybody for all your love and support. You guys have helped this channel grow dramatically. If you could please, at this time, drop us a like, comment, subscribe, share our podcast, turn on those bell notifications, and leave us a rating and good review. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
Fighting for freedom, one podcast at a time.
What's up, Freedom Empire? And thank you for tuning in for today's episode. Today I got two very special guests. Actually, back it up. Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, and welcome back to another episode on the pod. Today I am joined by Chad and Kayla. They are also the founders, CEOs, day-to-day operations of a actual dope candle company called Sparks Fly Candle Company. They also have probably the highest ASVAB score I think I have ever known about in my life. Yeah, your job will kind of tell that all. But Kayla, Chad, thank you so much for coming out. Thank you so much for being on my podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
You guys doing all right?
Yeah.
Excited to be here. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, of course. So let's rewind the tape a little bit. So where are you two originally from?
I'm originally right here from Oakdale, California.
I grew up in a small town outside of Bakersfield. If you know where the Grapevine is, that mountain range, I grew up in there.
Oh, okay.
It's called Lake Elizabeth. Very, very small, like 80 people town in California.
Okay. And then high school was kind of whatever. It was just normal for you two, or was it different because you were in a smaller town and you were like in a bigger town?
I commuted, so I commuted like 30 minutes to go to like a real high school. So
was there like no school in your town at all?
Yeah, no. We had to drive at least 30 minutes to get to school, which is fine. But yeah, no, mine was pretty average. I was a punk kid and didn't really do much. I was just a little extra smart for whatever reason. I had scored high on the ASVAB, so they're like, "Hey, punk kid, shape up, let's go." Kayla was a superstar. She was really good.
My experience was a little different. I was much more involved. I did speech and debate. I did basketball and volleyball. I loved high school. I had a lot of fun. So I joined the Navy. I wanted to be a corpsman, but I scored really high on my ASVAB, and they were like, "Hey, we'll give you this bonus, and you can be a nuke." And I was really competitive, and I was 17 years old, and I said, "Sure, sign me up."
That's nice. So what was like the inspiration for the military? Did you just knew right out of the gate you guys were going to both join?
I knew it was an option just because my older brother had joined. So I knew that was a path, but I grew up like low, middle income, like especially right after the recession. My family was not doing hot enough for me to go to college. So it was either that or a couple of other routes that weren't going to go so well. And when I scored high on that test, I was like, that is a sign that I'm going to go make some money. And like she said, they were literally handing me money. And I was like, oh, that'll work.
Yeah. Oh, it's called a what bonus? I don't care. I'll take it.
Bonus.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of people, I bet, that join the military and they're like, damn, I could have got paid to join this. And then they look back and they're like, it is what it is, I guess. But actually, I think that's pretty dope. You both are nukes. Well, were nukes when you were in the service. And what was exactly your rate?
We were the electricians, so EMNs.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that sounds like whenever you see them walking in, you're like, uh-oh. Some shit's about to go on. So you go to boot camp, and it's like a normal boot camp for you, right? Any funny stories or experiences you want to share about boot camp? I always hear some crazy things that people have went through.
We were actually at boot camp at the same time, going at the same, like through everything at the same time, and we had no idea. We didn't even know each other.
Yeah.
And so we had the same graduation date. Our parents were in the same room. And then we went to school together and we met like the next week. And so we actually have pictures where both of our divisions are in the same pictures that each of our family have. So that was pretty cool.
Really weird and
Yeah,
coincidental.
pretty fun.
A little like funny story that pops into my mind is, I don't know if you can tell, but my ears are really low. And they revealed to us that when they line you up and you're about to go outside, they don't do it by your head height. They look at the top of your ears. So I remember specifically, I'm lined up and the line has like a bump in it. And one of the drill sergeants, the RTCs, they were like, "What the fuck is going on with this line?" And they're looking at me and they're like, "Oh, Roslyn, your ears are so low." And I'm like sitting there like really insecure, like what's going on? And I checked and like I just have really low set ears. And I was just like sitting there like, okay. Like, fuck. Like, I didn't know that. My bad. Like,
yeah. I didn't think my ear height mattered, but I mean, I honestly, I mean, they call it a height line. I didn't know it was an ear height line. I thought it was just like, you know, like your height. I was one of those guys where I always got stuck in the back because I was tall. I was one of the taller people, and like I wasn't about boot camp because like I joined later on, so I was like older. I was like 23 when I joined. And then they would like call me to like go run to the front. I'm like, God, son of I don't, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to run. I'm not trying to do X. Just let me get through this and let me go be in the military. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But definitely some fun experiences. That's crazy. So you have no recollection of like seeing each other, or you weren't like brother div or like sister div or anything like that?
You were the very first div and I was the very last div. So just how it worked out. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the Navy kept you apart, but in the long run, it didn't work out too well for them, huh?
I probably saw her and I was like,
sure.
like glance.
Yeah, you're like, wow, there's other people here. So when you guys graduate boot camp, right? You go across the street, right? Like that's where. No,
Nope.
you guys go far.
Mm-hmm. We went to Charleston, South Carolina.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
It was amazing.
It was cool.
We
yeah.
It was right at like the boom of their economy. Like they started getting voted like best international place to visit. Like the food was great. Craft beer was having a boom at the moment, so everyone had craft beer. It was killer. It was like Charleston was really good at the time.
Not only, no, after you, Kayla.
I was gonna say that's where we fell in love. So it's kind of like,
aw, it was love at first beer.
Oh,
we're all gonna have that like romanticized version of Charleston in our mind. So
wow. So like maybe later on down the road, if and when you want to renew your vows, that's probably the place I would want to go.
We're actually going in December. Yeah. December's our 10-year anniversary.
No, we just bought plane tickets. That's funny.
Yeah. Let's go. I love that. I feel like I'm going to go play the lotto. All right. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I got to go. That's crazy. That's crazy. Good for you. I'm glad because honestly, that sounds like the perfect story. You know, I thought I was just going to come on here and just talk to some old friends who happen to be nukes and owned like a really good candle company, but this is turning out to be a lot better than I even thought it was going to be. So you guys go to North Carolina. All of this is happening where they're peaking and it's kind of like getting like uppity and more like, you know, like homey, and the Navy gave you a big enlistment bonus. So yeah,
they don't give you that until after the year and a half's worth of training. They don't tell you.
They don't tell you that. That's the fine print.
Yeah. So they make sure that you keep your hands on that.
Yeah, you have to graduate.
You have to graduate to get it. So
because you have to you have to graduate, right? That's the hardest part. Is a lot of people fail out of nuke school because like
they want that bonus and then they drop out and then they try to take that bonus and they're like, no.
Yeah.
I heard a story too about nukes. I mean, you can confirm or deny, but I heard a lot of nukes get kicked out of nuke school because, for the most part, they're underage, and when they get caught underage drinking, they like get sent out. I
Yeah.
heard that, and I was like, that. I was like, that totally makes sense because I took the ASVAB when I was 23. I had a full on like college degree, and I got a 38, and I was like, I passed, you know. But then there's kids who come in and they're so young, fresh out of high school, and they can take the ASVAB. It's easier for them, you know. They've been doing it for the last 12 years and haven't forgot it. For
Mhm.
me, I was like, oh, so I kind of got it. I was like, oh, that's why it's kind of hard to not only study and do good in school, but also like stay on the right track.
Yeah, nuke
Ye-
school's really hard. It's incredibly difficult. It's 18 months. The program was designed by MIT, and you're taking kids fresh out of high school going into a program where they're studying for 8 to 10 hours a day. It's a lot. It's very stressful. So
And then they want to drink.
yeah,
So
we
Yeah.
definitely we saw a lot of turnover in our time.
yeah, for real. Yeah, a lot of our friends, they got out real early and they're like, hey, yeah, this ain't for me. And I know that and I'm okay with that. I've come to peace with that. And then they're our higher ups are like, okay, well, as long as you come to peace with that, we'll get you out of here. And now they're doing other jobs. God, it's been
really
so
happy
long.
with them. So
Yeah, like they
Yeah.
found a better job, and I'm jealous because damn, the stuff we've seen after you get to the fleet is insane.
Mhm.
Just like the amount of crazy stress you're under even after the program.
Mhm.
It's not for everyone.
I believe it. I can kind of. I'm not going to compare it to being a doctor, right? But like studying and going to school for that's one thing. But when you actually have to like use your hands and work on something, you're like, like if I mess this up, that's not good. Like
Right.
for me, I'm just a plumber, so if I mess up, I just get really wet.
Well, that's like you said, like we're electricians. You get this like sorting hat experience where there's like three different jobs in the nuke community. You can
Okay.
get the soft job, or you can get the plumber, like
Yeah.
because everyone has to divvy up their responsibilities. We got the electrician, which is just as hands dirty as the plumber, and it's
Mhm.
it's we got sorted into the wrong house, I guess.
Yeah. What house are you?
Exactly. It depends, old quiz or a new quiz, because on the old quiz before they switched over, I was a Hufflepuff, and I took the new quiz. I'm a Gryffindor.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll go. I'll go new quiz. I'll go new quiz.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Kayla? Are you any house?
I think I'm a Slytherin.
I guess that's why you two get along so well. The first test was, that was old and outdated, but a Gryffindor and a Slytherin doesn't make sense, but it kind of does at the same time. It's the whole ideal with Professor Snape and Harry. They're just
Mhm.
meant to
Yeah.
be. But anyway, I'm curious. How long is your school, like
Um,
from start to finish?
it's anywhere from 18 months to 2 years. It just depends. Sometimes there's a
Wow.
holding period.
Yeah.
But the actual in school part is about 18 months. And so the first year of it is in class heavy with theory. And then the last 6 months, they actually put you on a submarine and you actually operate a nuclear reactor and do some of the jobs that you would be doing in the fleet. So really, really cool experience to get to learn and how to do all of that.
Well, that's good. Definitely the hands-on helps, and like the
Insane. You show up and you're like, wow, all the stuff I've been learning about is here,
On
and
an
it's
actual
and
submarine.
it's real. So if you mess up, you have someone right over your shoulder going, nope,
Don't do that.
no, no,
yeah.
no.
Yeah, yeah. Don't touch that.
I think both of our favorite parts is they have this crazy, not Disneyland level, but like a simulator
Mhm.
that if you walked in not knowing the difference, it looks exactly like the control room. And they put you in there, they call it the hot box, and they run the worst case scenarios on you. Like anything that could kill you, they put you in that situation so that you can, get muscle memory on how to get out of it.
Mhm.
So it's kind of
Gotcha.
crazy and stressful, but it also is. I'm looking
It's
at
really
this.
fun.
It was cool. It was so cool. Every gauge works the way it's supposed to. There's a guy in the back with a computer going, okay, I'm going to set you up for this situation, and then all the gauges at once. They go.
You're like, oh,
Yeah.
fix this.
They even have like fake noises and stuff for everything. Like
That's
that's
pretty
like
fun.
it was really cool.
That sounds really, really cool. Well, I mean, the money that they put into it and the time they put into each sailor, it makes sense to have something like that, which I didn't get any of that. So, hey, if you're listening, make sure you study for your ASVAB if you want to do some cool jobs, or just don't, and you could be a plumber. No, but that's the thing that
If I failed out, I scored really high on the D lab, which is a linguist one. So that if I would have failed out, they already had me planned to go to Monterey Bay, California, and start linguist school to translate shit.
Do you know any languages now?
No, and the D lab is designed that way. So
Okay.
they purposely don't want you to know the language so that they could teach it to you the way they want you to.
Yeah.
If you already know the language, they'll instantly put you there. But the D lab is designed as a translator specific skill set. So
Okay. I guess based on like where you would have to go in the world to translate, they would probably want you to know like maybe that dialect more than, anywhere else. I have a hard time with English, so I don't think I'd be able to be a linguist at all. That's actually cool though. Like at least you had some backup. Because that was my next question was for both of you. If let's just say you did drop out of nuke school, what happens? Like, what do you able to pick a new rate, or are you need to the Navy, or do you get to like what would happen?
A little bit of both. So usually you'll be presented with a few available positions, and then you can kind of choose from there.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we had a couple of friends go through that, and they ended up with a job that they were really happy with. So I think it's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken, we both got caught up in a misunderstanding. So I wanted to be an officer. So they told me if I joined as a nuke, I could be an officer and I don't have to stay a nuke. That's not necessarily true. So if you're a nuke and you go as an officer program, they want to keep you as a nuke. And that's fair. They put all that training in you. And didn't you want to do that too? You wanted to get into the medical program?
Yeah, after you
the training.
graduated nuke school. But if you didn't make it through nuke school, then you were just provided with a different opportunity.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We both wanted to be officers eventually. So
Yeah, they have that good program. I'm actually doing a podcast next weekend with somebody who he was enlisted and then he did like that admiral program.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
he went to like the cadet school, and I mean we'll get into that, and I don't want to spoil it for everybody listening, but yeah, he did all that, and I kind of looked into it, but I didn't meet some of the requirements. I was already too old by then. It was like for younger people. I think like 25 was the cutoff, and I was like 26, so I was like, it is what it is. I could always go back to college, but I'm done with college. That's why I joined the Navy. All right. So you guys finish your school, and then where do you end up? Do you end up together, or does one go one way and one goes the other way? Yeah. I see. Come on, Chad. What do you got?
So I love powerful women. She was my class leader. She was my superior, kind of. So we were in the same class, and she was the head honcho, and that was forbidden, and we weren't allowed to see each other, but we were seeing each other, and it was very fun. So right after we graduated that first section of class, everyone goes through an A school, C school, and they call the simulator prototype. Right after A school, as soon as we were about to be separated into other classes, we're like, we're getting married. So about 6 months worth of dating, and we're like, we really just want to stick together through this whole thing. We love each other. Let's get married to make sure that we're staying together.
Because the Navy doesn't care if it's not official.
Yep.
Exactly. Yeah. If it's not on paper and chaps can't help you, then no one can help you.
Right.
It was funny. It was like one of those 90s movies where everything works out, because like I was in my dress blues ready to go get married at the courthouse. I bust in the door. I'm like, all right, everyone, confession time. Me and Judd are getting married. And everyone's like, woo, and they clapped.
Yeah.
Like, because we're all
they knew what was going on, but like can't really say anything, right?
Yeah. So they all supported us, and they were like, we knew it.
Yeah. Well, we got married, and then I was the first one to graduate out of my class. It's kind of like a go at your own pace kind of a thing. So I was able to pick where I wanted to go. I got the first selection. So I picked Washington because we love Washington. I have some family up there. And then Chad was able to just come along with me because we were already married and my billet was selected. We were really, really lucky. I think there were 5 or 6 married couples that had gotten married throughout the process, and we were the only ones that got stationed within an hour of each other. For the Navy, co-location is considered the same coast. So just from San
Oh,
Diego all the way up to Seattle is co-location. So some of our friends were not as lucky. We
Yeah.
got really lucky.
so you guys were an hour apart, 2 separate locations.
We were living in the same house. I was at Bremerton. He was at Bangor. So it was like 15 minutes apart. I got stationed on the USS John C. Stennis, an aircraft carrier, and he was on the Henry M. Jackson, which was a submarine. So pretty cool.
Yeah, really cool. So there's only a few bases that have both subs and carriers. So I was on like a cool little 3-month rotation. So I would get 3 months off, 3 months on, and that would overlap with her deployments nicer than it would have if we were both on a
Aircraft
different
carriers.
carrier. So especially because they switch home ports all the time. So it's like
Yep.
we got super fortunate. So then, she got to ride out the rest of her contract. And then we saw each other all the time. But I
Wow.
wasn't
More than most.
more than most.
Dual military
Yeah.
couples, I would say.
So
Now, do you think you being the class leader and getting like first pick or, the pick kind of influenced and helped that a little bit?
Definitely.
Yeah.
yeah, when we got to prototype, she graduated first on her side. Sorry, that's my cat. Hey.
That's okay. You're good.
She graduated first on her boat because there's 2 boats at the prototype, and we got split up because we're not supposed to be together. She graduated first on hers. I graduated first on mine, and that's like a rule throughout all Navy training. Is like that's their reward for everyone. Is like, hey, the first person to graduate or top score in most other schools gets first pick. Like that's usually their little carrot they dangle. But for us, like you said, or like she said, it's whenever you're ready to take that final, you go, you take that final.
So and then you ship out. So we lived apart for 3 or 4 weeks while he was finishing school.
Yeah.
Waiting for his split to open.
That was our motivation. We're like, we're not getting separated.
Nope.
We are going to graduate first.
Yep.
We're both going to graduate first and then pick our same spot. And we did. And that was tough.
Yeah.
That was tough.
I could definitely imagine. But what I think would be tougher, and I don't know because I've never been on one, but I just seen like YouTube videos of how small a submarine is. No, you don't. It's not that. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Kayla. I think
So 2 things is the bottom 3 levels of an aircraft carrier look just like a submarine anyway. Just because you're under the water, but she has the option to go see the sun sometimes.
Yeah, you can see a picture of it.
It's 40 feet in diameter, so that's a 4-story building.
Okay.
And it's 350 feet long, so more than a football field long. So it does get small after a couple of months. I'd say people start to freak out at about like the 70-day mark because you're supposed to be going 90 days on, 90 days off. It gets itchy. It gets pretty itchy. There's nowhere to run. So if you're into exercising, they have treadmills. Like it messes with you a little bit. But it's not as small as like a deep sea submarine, like James Cameron going to see the Titanic. Like people think of like Finding Nemo ride at Disneyland, like very small. It's not.
That's what I think.
There's bunk rooms where they can fit 3 bunks on top of each other. Like that's how much headspace there is. It's people think of like maybe the bilge where you have to crawl and clean in the the grossness of all the pipes and stuff. That's the hard part.
Yeah. Now, do you what was I going to say? So you go 3. You said 3 months on and then 3 months off
for the defense submarines. Yeah, so you can get again into a defense submarine or an attack submarine. Attack submarines do carrier deployments. It's 9 months and they visit ports and all that. But defense submarines have nuclear missiles on them, and nobody appreciates that when you roll into their country with nuclear missiles. So they do kind of like a 3 month on, 3 month off.
Okay, I get that.
I'm going to step out for a sec.
Yeah, of course. So perfect time if I kind of want to get into the aircraft carrier because I've been on one as a tour, but I've actually never been on a ship in
Mm.
my life. What do you have to say about an aircraft carrier? Would you do it again if someone offered it to you?
I really liked being deployed because of the camaraderie and being able to just make such deep friendships with the sailors that I was on board. The ship itself, I mean, honestly, it's not that bad. You get used to it. And there's a lot to do on an aircraft carrier. I mean, we even had like a Starbucks, which was sailors like making Starbucks coffee for you, but it was a
Oh,
cool
nice.
thing, you know? And they tried to do like events and sometimes on Sundays they would cook really amazing meals, so that was really cool, like roasts and stuff. So I mean, there
Hmm.
was a lot of good about it. I really liked being deployed because I liked making friends. I enjoyed my job, and that kind of a thing. But I don't know that I could live on a ship again. I think it's a little different.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You get your one little bed that has the pull up, just like boot camp, and then
Hmm.
I think maybe I got like one more little shelf thing, and that was it. Oh, and my air conditioning and my berthing was always on, so it was so stinking cold all the time.
Oh,
And we're engineering, so we lived at the bottom of the boat, which is already cold because you're in the ocean, right? And then they had the air conditioner blowing, so it was freezing all the time.
yeah.
It was a lot of fun, honestly.
How many nukes did you have with you? You weren't the only one, obviously, right?
No, so on an aircraft carrier, the reactor division is actually split up into two because there's multiple air reactors on the aircraft carriers. So we were two separate divisions, and we had our own CO who was in charge of us. So I mean, we were pretty expansive. We made up a
Oh,
pretty big
nice,
portion
nice.
of the crew for sure.
That's nice. Yeah, I was gonna say it kind of. I feel like yes, you are on the ship, and yes, you are a part of the ship, but your workload and your day to day is completely different than
Mhm.
the rest of the ship.
You can't just like walk away from a nuclear reactor, right? So when
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and everyone else can turn off their machines and go to Liberty, we still have to work because somebody has to watch the reactor. So we definitely saw that difference in workload for sure because we never
Hmm.
got Liberty and we never got to go off. And when we were in ports, often we were on like port and starboard. So it was like
Yep.
12 on, 12 off, like that. So we were very busy.
Yeah, and then by the time you get off watch or off duty, you're just like, I want to go to bed. It's like
Mhm.
Barcelona sounds cool, but my brack sounds so much nicer right now. Now, you were able to have like what are those called when they have like is it called like a deck party? Like a flight
Mhm.
party? Like when they put like you said like a big roast, a big barbecue,
Mhm.
they put it like on the top, you know what I mean? Like on
I
the flight
haven't
deck?
experienced anything like that. The
Oh,
only thing
really?
I experienced was they did like a flight deck running party. So they had like decked it all out and people were up there like running and stuff. And that was pretty much all that I had experienced.
Okay.
Mhm.
Now, out of all the places you've been, well, first off, where have you guys been?
My ship was more focused on actually training. When I was on there, we were training our flight crew. So we went to San Diego a lot and then we just kind of chilled in the ocean doing circles while the flight crew was training. So I've been to San Diego.
Oh, okay.
I am back. I
Hey.
didn't go anywhere. We had nuclear missiles on board, and that's the downside of they call them booms.
Mm,
But we broke down. I got to go to Alaska for the first time. So we did little
whoa.
speedboats up to Alaska while they were getting repaired. That
Hmm.
was fun.
Tell them about your dive.
Oh yeah, and we all got to jump off the boat into the ice cold water.
Really?
Yeah,
I've seen that before, and I didn't know if that was like really a thing or they just did it for like National Geographic or something. You
no,
know,
no, no. So
it's like a real thing.
it's mostly an older Navy kind of thing. Everyone, if you're bored or waiting for a speedboat to bring out supplies, the boat's shut down. Everyone's off watch. We have security and stuff, but they do barbecues topside and they let people jump off the boat. They have safety swimmers and everything. It's really cool. I thought I would never get to do that because our patrol zone was in the northern section of the Pacific. So I'm like, it's cold. No one's ever going to do that. They also told me when I first showed up, they're like, you're not going to go to port. You're not going to do the cool stuff. You're not going to do this, that, and the other. On my first deployment, I got to go to Alaska. Another time, I got to go to Hawaii and fly Kayla out. And then I also got to jump off the boat. So it's like, screw you guys. And then
Yeah.
the rest of my career, I did nothing. But it was probably because I was a new guy that they didn't really need me. So they kind of just threw me off when they needed to bring more people on board. So,
Gotcha.
but
Well, I
it
mean,
was still fun, like jumping off in Alaskan waters and then getting to go to port and drink with a bunch of Alaskan fishermen was legendary. Like,
yeah, some of the greatest memories you'll never forget, you know?
yeah,
How many people in their life can say that they have jumped off the top of a submarine?
into
Besides you.
water.
Yeah,
they
yeah, yeah.
test and they told us they're like it's 42, and we're like, oh,
Listen, after being on a sub for however long,
Mhm.
an hour, I don't care. Get me off. I'll jump into negative 42. Just help me
oh,
get out, you
it was
know?
really sweet to see the sun, even though it's like in cold
Oh.
Alaskan weather. But with it, like I remember I got off watch as like a under instruction kind of deal. I was doing a watch with someone, and I went topside after dinner, and there was a bunch of my guys just like one brought a ukulele that I didn't know, and he was sitting there and he was just playing the ukulele. Everyone's watching the sunset. I'm like, oh, this is sweet, like one of those moments out of 90 days of bullshit. Like
Yep.
it's nice.
Yeah, you're like, I've never heard you play this ukulele. There's only a limited amount of things we can bring with us and fit in our rack,
No,
and
really.
a ukulele is one of. You know what? I'm happy you brought it, man, because that was that was great.
One guy, yeah, like one guy every deployment. There's that one guy, and he brings a guitar. Like I don't know how he does it. I don't know if he has extra space, but like
Yeah,
he somehow fits a guitar on board, and you're like, how?
yeah, yeah. Like I didn't even watch you like carry that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for us, it was a little different because whenever we get deployed, we're able to, like we take a plane places, right? We don't go on the ship. So we kind of know where we're going and we can send things there.
Oh,
So what we would do is like while we were like away on deployment, wherever we were, we would buy a bunch of stuff, right? Because everything was dirt cheap and being there because our deployments are 6 to 7 months.
okay.
So for 6 months, you're like I'm on board, or you buy so much stuff, you're like I don't want to take all this home with me, so we'll just ship a bunch of stuff back. Like one of my friends shipped like surfboards and like her guitar, and I was like,
Yes.
okay, yeah. Another girl we were with actually found like rescued a puppy, and then went through the whole process of like rescuing the puppy, getting like all of his shots and vaccines, and then actually shipping him from the Philippines to the States. And now she has the dog.
That's
Legendary.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were like on the beach and we just like looked like at like the like the water washing up, and we just seen like this like little black thing. We're like, the hell is that? We looked, and it was a dog. And the
Oh,
puppy was like full of worms and just not very very bad shape. So she ended up taking the dog and like fostering him back to like full health. And yeah, it's actually a pretty cool story. So not only guitars but dogs as well. If you want, you could
Dogs. Just,
yeah, a whole ass dog. Yeah,
wow.
I mean in the Philippines there's so many of them. Like in countries like that, like there's just dogs everywhere.
Wow.
But that one definitely stuck out to us the most.
Yeah.
So.
for regards to movies, have you seen Hunt for Red October?
No, but I will write it down and I will give it a look.
It's a really good movie. It's either that one or Crimson Tide. They're both about submarines. I think it actually is Crimson Tide, where the CO has a chihuahua that he brings on the submarine, and it pisses everywhere. He makes the junior officers clean it up. We love shitting on that movie because we always like, should we have a boat dog? Like, no, we really like sat there and like, what would be the logistics of having a dog on board just to hang out with us? And we're just like, okay, it's got to stay out of the engine room and all that. We just love shitting on that movie, just because it's like a little unrealistic. But Crimson Tide is based off of a real like submarine with a real story, so we're like, maybe that was somewhat true. But really good movie. Crimson Tide is Denzel Washington, and Hunt for Red October is Sean Connery. So both really good movies about if you want to see how big a submarine and how roomy it is.
All right, easy there. Yeah, definitely. I am a big movie guru. If it's anything Adam Sandler, I've watched it a million gajillion times. But I'm definitely open to actually watching these two movies. Probably the Crimson Tide one more.
Ooh.
But what?
Oh, I was saying it's really good. It's about
Okay.
mutiny happens. It's nuts, and there's a crazy commanding officer. He's trying to go rogue, and Denzel Washington's like, "No, I'm going to take over," and it's really cool.
Now, you said like he brought his Chihuahua. That kind of makes me think like that would probably like boost morale a whole lot if you could have like a submarine like mascot, you know? Like I don't know, like maybe not a dog, right? Because that's like a lot of like work and a lot of like attention. Probably not a cat. That'd be more ideal because a cat can hide and go into weird places.
But never find the cat.
Yikes!
Yeah. You'd never find a cat. I don't know. Maybe like a bird or even a fish. You know, a fish would love it because a fish is like, yeah, I'm home. This is great. I'm surprised you guys are. So, like for morale, so me and Kayla kind of talk like what they have, like on bigger scale ships. A carrier for like morale. What does a submarine have besides probably the best tasting food in the Navy, right?
Each other.
Many games, right?
Liberty Games.
Yeah, didn't you have to put money into a pool to get to be the captain for the day?
Yeah, so we did a huge raffle, which is very stereotypical of boats. Is they gain their MWR money, the morale, welfare, and recreation.
Yep.
People will put in for raffle tickets, and it's like $5 a ticket, and that's an easy way to get like all kinds of different prizes. But the top dog prize for the whole, like you do a whole raffle for the whole thing, and then there's like weekly raffles. The big one was captain for a day. So you don't get to stand watch, or you don't have to stand watch. You don't have to do anything. You basically, the captain shadows you, but you wear his hat and you can make, very low level decisions without question. And like, you get to drive the boat. You get to like, when we drive home, you get to go up into the sail and be where, the captain is driving the boat. You get to like, I don't know, the guy who won for one of our deployments, like the captain was really big into cigars. So he would, smoke a cigar with the guy who won the raffle. Really cool stuff. One guy used it to sign and schedule his own supervisor qualifying board because that's really hard to get. So he's like, I'm going to schedule myself to get qualified supervisor, not unquestioned, but still, like, it's really hard to get the captain's time. Mm-hmm. So he looked at the captain's schedule and was like, I'm going to make myself a priority.
That's actually really smart. I bet his buddies were probably like, yo, give me it.
I don't know how much he put into the bin. He could have put like $1,000 worth of raffle tickets in there. Who knows? Like,
yeah. Well, sub pay is pretty good, no?
It's pretty decent, yeah, and it's pretty similar to anybody else's deployment pay. We just get like special duty pay, hazard pay, things of that nature. So yeah, it's pretty similar to everyone else. But as far as recreation, like everyone brought their, at the time, the cool thing to bring was the Switch. It was the 3DS. Halfway through my career, the Switch came out, and that was disruptive. Just because it had that cool, I don't know if the 3DS had it. I never had one, but I got a Switch, and you can play person to person without internet because there's no internet. So everyone's in their rack going, "Oh, you bastard!" And you're trying to sleep, and you're like, "What are you doing?" Like just
playing Mario Kart.
I was about to say they're playing Smash Brothers, Mario Kart. Breath of the Wild came out, so everyone's talking about Breath of the Wild. Like that was kind of a thing. Movies were big. We would all exchange terabytes and hard drives of what movies and special movies and games and books and like just everything. What do you got? Because if you're not working, you're sleeping. And
exactly.
If you're working, you're probably cracking jokes, telling stories, remembering your favorite stand-up bits. Like there wasn't really much to do. Working out, like if you could have time to work out, a lot of people like they had really cool ways to save space, like the Bowflex selector bicep curlers saved a lot of space. Treadmills, a lot of pipes doubled as pull-up bars. Like just random pipes going through the boat. They'll just use those as pull-up bars. What have you? If you're religious, they had a church service every Sunday. That was nice. Yeah, like if you're into that, they supported that. They had not a chaplain, but I think they call him like a Lou chaplain or something like that, which is like, you know, he just made sure everyone's needs were met. And we all kind of took like she was saying, like her crew is really big. Ours was 150 people total. So
Yeah.
including the officers, including the, every rate and their jobs is 150 people. So
Yeah. Her 150 people is probably just her birthing alone.
right.
Yeah.
So that there was like 12 in my division, and a lot of people only had about between 6 and 12 people in their division. So
Okay. So then, from what I understand, is Kayla, you did your 5 years and then you were done, right? And then you did 8, right, Chad?
I did 8, yes.
And then you were done after that. Transitioning from the military to being a civilian, any life advice, any tips or tricks?
Yeah, so I was really lucky that I was able to work with a nonprofit foundation called Sentinels of Freedom. They work
Okay.
really hard with helping veterans transition from the military into civilian life. Um, they helped pay a portion of my mortgage for 2 years while I attended school. They provided me with countless resources. Ultimately, they were the reason why we were able to open Sparks Light Candle Company in the first place because of all of the resources that they provided with us. So I definitely think that our life would look a lot different if we didn't have help from, nonprofits like that, because it is a very hard transition going from the amount of structure that you have in the military to
Mm-hmm.
basically doing your own thing and not really knowing where you fit in or how to convert your military skills into civilian life skills. It's really complicated and really hard. And so they've kind of been along with us, helping us all along the way. So I would definitely say look for local resources that you have in your area because there's so many non-profs and people who want to help veterans and people like us who are, struggling or looking for better ways to do things. And I think that would be my biggest advice for sure.
Chad, would you have anything to say? Like when you were transitioning, I mean, Kayla left prior to you, so she probably took on the grunt of it, at first, like not only mentally, but I guess, physically in life, where it's like, okay, I don't have to wear this uniform no more. I don't know what I'm supposed to do tomorrow. Do I have to text somebody? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
when you were first getting at, like when you first got out, you probably had Kayla be like, "Yeah, you're good. I've been doing this for 3 years. You watched me do it." But is there anything personally that you did or you would recommend for somebody else to do?
She was very helpful. Like I got to watch her entire transition. And she got to guide me through mine. Just have a plan and a backup plan. Like really the biggest thing. There are a lot of resources. You just have to reach out. A lot of people are very proud, to not accept help. I say accept help because
Yeah.
even just watching her transition out, I was like, it's gonna be fine. Like it wasn't fine. Like you go through a lot of mental changes because
Mm-hmm.
it's different. It's different. It's changing life and it's stressful. So just keep your head up and use all of the resources that are available to you and have a plan. That's like the biggest thing. And they try to help you have a plan while getting out, but you're just so focused on clicking through the trainings on getting out. You're like, I don't know, man. But
Yep.
they definitely try to keep you in. There's a few times where they're just like, are you sure? It's scary out there. And you're like, yeah, I don't want to be here anymore.
Yeah.
But I say go to school. Like, even though like you said you went to school a lot, the GI Bill is there for you and it gives you a lot of resources and money to at least just attend. You can go underwater basket weaving. It doesn't matter. It's the GI Bill is there for you and it pays you BAH while you're going to school. So
Mm-hmm.
it's really cool. And that's a good starting point, especially if you're trying to switch career fields. It's easier if you stay in the same career field, but not everyone wants to do that. So that's what I did. I'm going back to school right now, as well as running a business. I'm going to school for business to help the business. But
Nice.
yeah, that's just my story. It doesn't have to be anyone else's. So
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing for transitioning is just
Yeah.
adapt, go back to square one, go to
Mm-hmm.
school. And if there is nonprofits, they're really helpful. They really are. There's a few we knew from Washington when she got out, and we met a few down here in California, like just really cool stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I know I did say prior that I probably won't go back to school because I already did that, been there, done that. But I'm lying out of my teeth because I do have a plan for when I get out in like 2 years. Is I want to use my GI Bill and I want to go be a home inspector.
Nice.
So you don't only have to use, like, for people listening, you don't only have to use your GI Bill to go to a big university
Yeah.
or get a crazy degree. You can use it for a trade. You can use it for programs. You can use it for a lot of things, right? You just gotta actually look into it and know exactly like what the GI Bill will and will not pay for.
That's
There's
great.
people who are getting their masters. Like I did a podcast. I'm not gonna ruin it, like I probably already did with every other one, but he's actually going to USC and he's getting his masterate. What? Yeah, that's how you know I need mine. His master's degree, and I was like, you can get that through your GI Bill, and he's like, yeah, like they tell you can't, but there is ways that you can do things in the military, and the VA will also help you too.
Oh
The
yeah.
VA is a big tool where you can just call them and be like, Mom, how do I tie my shoes? And they'll point you in 5 different directions of how to tie your shoes. So that's dope.
No,
So
that's a great point. Is that I used part of my GI Bill in a different life uh,
okay.
to get my craft beer brewmaster certification. So I went on. It was an online program, and I used it. It was a couple $1,000s, but you get up to $80,000 for as long as it's approved, and it was. So
Exactly.
before we started this business, I really wanted to be a brewmaster at a brewery. So I technically, it was years ago, but I'm technically qualified to do so because of the GI Bill. It doesn't have to be a big university, like you said. So
Yeah, it's the beard, the long hair, and the craft brew that's just making me want to come hang out and just drink a beer with you. Because I hope you made it yourself. Do you like currently do that? Like, do you brew? You do?
yeah, homebrewing
Sign
is,
me up.
you can. It's not illegal. You can homebrew
Yeah,
yourself.
no, 100%. Yeah, there's a lot of people. Maybe like in one of my commands, right? There was 2 people, so not a lot, but there was people who would actually brew their own beer, and they didn't sell it. They didn't care. They would just brew it and be like, "Here, let me know how this is," and then you would either taste it and be like, "Oh," and then you'd be like, bitter soap, and then he'd be like, all right, like, thank you, like, I tasted and I've been tasting it so long, like I can't really tell, right? So he would give it to us and we tasted it and we'd be like, I don't know the recipe and I don't know all that, but I'm like, too bitter or too sweet or not this or not that, and then he would go back, fix it, change it, and it was dope. It worked out. I got free beer and he got to pursue his hobby.
It's very fun.
Yeah. Yeah. So you got your certification to brew beer, but somehow you ended up brewing candles.
Mhm.
How did that happen?
We well, I
Yeah.
school to be a biochem major. I was in the process of doing that, and then we accidentally got pregnant. And we had our son right at the end of 2019, and then the world shut down in 2020. And it was 2 weeks to save the world. That really lasted like 6.5 months. And there was no childcare for non essential workers or students attending school. So we didn't have childcare. So we needed a hobby. So we started just making candles in our studio, just for fun, giving them out to family. And we ended up being really good at it, and it was super fun. But we really wanted to bring joy to the world because it was so dark and so scary, and everyone was just so afraid. So we started just putting jokes on the candles and sassy labels and sayings, and Chad's really good at all of the computer graphics. And so we designed our whole brand around the idea of just sparking a little bit of humor in everyday life things that are just so human that a lot of people can relate to. And honestly, like, that's my favorite part, is when people come to my booth and they just read my candle and they laugh, and then they show their friends and their friends laugh. And it's just so fun to see that little bit of joy spread from person to person.
Exactly. Can you spitball a couple of candle names that you have?
Okay, so for veterans specifically, we have our DD214, smells like sweet, sweet freedom. And the fourth thing that is beards. We also have a military marriage. It smells like BAH and TRICARE.
Our most recent one, we try to release them pretty regularly. It's called Cats, and it has a cat logo on it, and it says "Because knocking shit over is the only way to get attention."
That's
Just
a good one.
small little quips like that.
We have a vote one, and it says vote because you can't bitch if you didn't participate. You know, just fun little humanly things that you can relate to. It's really, really fun.
Do you each have like your favorite?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we do.
Yeah. So one of the original ones that I had vouched for was adulting. It says adulting, but smells like your favorite childhood memory, not having to pay bills. But I'm in love with the fragrance. The joke is it hits close to home too, but it's the God. I was a really big fan of that fragrance, so I vouched for it. To stay, and it's been a pretty nice and successful candle this entire time. It's been 3 years. So.
My favorite is Basic Bitch. It smells like lattes and yoga pants, and it's like a pumpkin chai fragrance. It's so amazing. I just love it, and I love the saying because I'm basic.
Yeah. Well, it is that season for PSLs right now, so definitely coming out. Now, do you guys have like a top seller that you can recommend for anybody that if maybe they just want to try it?
Yeah, our top seller is called Best Friends. It's a pumpkin mango coconut milk. It smells really, really good.
Pumpkin mango?
I'm sorry, not pumpkin. Pineapple mango coconut. I guess mango.
You got the PSL, you got the basic bitch going down right now. That's what it is.
No. So it's called Best Friends. It says smells like my dog and I talk shit about you, but it is a pineapple coconut mango. It smells amazing. And then one of our other fragrances that's very popular, it's called Pointless. It says smells like trying to keep your house clean when you have kids, and it is a sea salt orchid fragrance. It's very nice.
So for anybody listening, if they wanted to buy some of your candles, how would they go about doing that? Obviously, I'll drop some links below, but a quick rundown of your store, your website.
Yeah, so we are available on sparksflycandle.com. We do free shipping anywhere in the US for orders over 60. And then if you're local to our area here in Oakdale, we do local pickup here. You can find us in a couple of stores up in Washington. Elizabeth's House of Wax, we're up there. And then you can find us here in Oakdale and in Modesto. We're in the Vintage Fair Mall. But mostly we do a lot of things online. That's our biggest seller right there.
Yeah.
Nice. And you've been doing this for 3 years, right?
Yeah, we started in Washington when we lived up there. And then after the pandemic, we moved to California to be closer to our family here. And so then we reopened the business here in California in 2021.
Nice. And you plan on doing this as a husband, wife, family business for the rest of eternity?
As long as possible. We're hoping to make it as successful as we can.
I honestly wish you guys nothing but the best because, yeah, you're right. When you said someone picks it up and they laugh, I swear there was not one candle that I was just like, oh, okay, that's cool. Like every candle that you said was good. So as long as you two keep thinking of like the best names with the greatest descriptions ever, I have no doubt that Sparks Fly Candle Company will be the best it could ever be.
Yeah, honestly, she comes up with the jokes. She's the funny one. I make them look pretty, and that's my part.
Yeah. Chad's just like, let's call this one Death, and it'll just be black. So no smell, just gonna light it. That's it.
One day there will be an expose. They'll go through the files of our ancient business and see like the rejected pile, and that's all of my.
Yeah. One day when your kid gets older, he's gonna look at all these and be like, "Whose are these?" And Kayla's gonna be like, "Those are your dad's. We're not using those." All right. Well, anyway, Kayla, Chad, thank you so much for coming out here and just having a friendly conversation with me, man. I feel like we've known each other. Like I feel like I went to NUKE school with you guys. Honestly, you guys are really cool. I wish you guys nothing but the best. I wish your careers nothing but the best. Your schooling, obviously, I know you'll do just fine with that because, right? And your company. Everybody, the link will be in the description below. Buy some candles, buy some basic bitches.
Yeah.
Yes.
Until next time, we'll catch you guys on the pod.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Of course. Views presented are those of the speaker, and the guest do not necessarily represent the views of the Department of Defense or its components. Neither the Department of Defense or its components bears any responsibility for the accuracy, legality, or content of the views discussed on this podcast. Now, without further ado, let's get into this.